In the summer of 1863, the Confederacy stood at its moment of greatest reach and at the edge of its breaking point. Southern success had never been built on factories or manpower. The South lacked both. Its victories had come from audacity, speed, and a shared conviction that a single, shattering blow could decide the war outright. That conviction now moved northward, crossing the Potomac, leaving Virginia behind, pressing into the quiet farmland and rolling terrain of Pennsylvania. Gettysburg was never supposed to become a battlefield. No master plan selected it. No grand design marked its fields for destiny. A shortage of shoes, accidental encounters between scouting units, and converging troop movements pulled two massive armies toward a crossroads town with no inherent strategic importance. And yet, once gunfire cracked through the morning air, the war itself seemed to constrict around that place, tightening day by day until everything hinged on one decision. A decision Robert E. Lee would make, and a warning James Longstreet would give. Longstreet did not chase glory. He had little patience for romantic visions of war. He distrusted frontal attacks against fortified positions and believed victory came not through reckless courage, but through control, forcing the enemy to attack you, on ground you had chosen, under conditions you dictated. At Gettysburg, he pleaded with Lee to maneuver, to shift the battlefield entirely, to compel the Union Army into a defensive mistake. Lee refused, and history followed the path of that refusal. But what if he hadn't? James Longstreet was not a man of dramatic flourishes or soaring rhetoric. He spoke plainly. Where others spoke of honor and destiny, Longstreet saw numbers, angles of fire, elevation, distance, casualty reports yet to be written. By 1863, he was Lee's most dependable lieutenant. He had fought beside him at 2nd Manassas, Fredericksburg, and Chancellorsville. Again and again, Longstreet's judgment had proven sound. At Fredericksburg, it was Longstreet who secured Marye's Heights, transforming repeated Union assaults into wholesale slaughter. That battle had reinforced his core belief: let the enemy attack you, and you will destroy them. Gettysburg would reveal whether Lee still trusted that lesson. Lee entered Pennsylvania confident, but that confidence was brittle. The Confederacy was hemorrhaging soldiers it could not replace. Each victory raised expectations. Each success narrowed the margin for error. When the Army of Northern Virginia crossed the Potomac, Lee sought more than supplies or morale. He sought something decisive, an outcome that might crush Northern resolve and force the war to a conclusion. Longstreet did not share that vision. To him, the invasion was about movement, not climax. It was about threatening Washington, stretching Union supply lines, forcing the Army of the Potomac out of strong positions. Victory would come through sustained pressure, applied deliberately and intelligently, not through a single dramatic strike. When Gettysburg appeared, Longstreet saw no opportunity. He saw a snare. On July 1st, Confederate troops pushed Union forces through the town itself. Smoke drifted between buildings. Prisoners were taken. Momentum seemed firmly in Southern hands. But Longstreet looked beyond momentum. He watched the Union Army occupy the high ground south of town: Cemetery Hill, Cemetery Ridge, Culp's Hill. Elevated terrain, interior lines, clear artillery platforms. Every ridge told a story Longstreet already knew. Troops dug in on high ground with overlapping fields of fire were nearly impossible to dislodge without catastrophic losses. This was the very battlefield he feared. That evening, he approached Lee quietly but urgently. Do not attack tomorrow. Move around their left. Force them off these heights. Make them fight on our terms. Lee listened. He nodded. He considered. For a moment, rare and fleeting, hesitation crossed his face. Longstreet saw it. Lee weighed the boldness that had carried him to victory so many times against the quiet warning of a man who understood risk as deeply as courage. Longstreet's words lingered. Do not attack. Maneuver. Wait. Lee paced among maps and reports, imagining consequences branching endlessly. Delay might allow the Union to entrench further. Hesitation might signal weakness. But a frontal assault promised blood, perhaps disaster. And then Lee decided. No. Longstreet left unsettled. He sensed the morning would demand a price words could not repay. That night, Union soldiers dug relentlessly. Shovels cut into hard ground. Artillery was dragged into position. Infantry lines curved across the ridges, tightening with every hour. With each passing minute, the Federal position hardened. Longstreet felt it all. The weight of every cannon placed, every stone wall reinforced, every trench scraped under moonlight. Again he murmured to himself, "Do not attack tomorrow. Move them." Lee, meanwhile, wrestled with doubt. He paced among his staff, torn between audacity and caution, between the spirit of his men and the brutal mathematics of firepower. Inaction pressed heavily, yet action threatened everything. July 2nd dawned hot and tense. A strange stillness hovered over the field. Longstreet rose early, burdened by certainty and dread. His plan was simple and had been from the beginning. March south, swing wide around the Union left, threaten supply lines, force Meade to retreat or attack on unfavorable ground. It was logical. It was disciplined. It might have altered the war. Lee approved the idea, but only in part. The maneuver would be narrower. Speed would outweigh concealment. Time slipped away. Delays followed. Wrong roads, confused guides. Union signal stations spotted movement. With each lost hour, the Union left grew stronger. Longstreet felt the future tightening around his chest. When the attack finally came, the battlefield had changed. Reinforcements had arrived. Artillery was entrenched. The moment Longstreet envisioned, a decisive, overwhelming blow, was gone. Still, the assault went forward. What followed was among the most brutal fighting of the war. Devil's Den, the wheat field, the peach orchard, Little Round Top. Combat raged at distances so close men could see terror in each other's faces. Ground was taken and lost again and again, soaked in blood. At Little Round Top, a desperate Union defense held, just barely. A single regiment fixed bayonets and charged downhill, sealing a breach that might have unraveled the entire Federal line. Longstreet watched, sick with certainty. This was what he had feared. Courage could not defeat terrain. Valor could not silence artillery. Preparation overwhelmed bravery. By nightfall, the Confederates had gained ground, but at a devastating cost. The Union line still stood. The battle was unfinished, but the opportunity was gone. That night, Longstreet spoke little. He knew what Lee was contemplating next, and he knew, absolutely, what it would cost. Lee spent the night alone, surrounded by maps and reports, every ridge replayed in his mind, every gun placement, every possibility. The burden of command pressed down, heavier than it ever had before. Boldness still guided him, but doubt cut deeper now. July 3rd arrived charged with expectation. Lee believed the Union center was weakened. He believed a massive, concentrated assault could break it. Longstreet did not. He had walked the ground. Nearly a mile of open fields. No cover, no protection. Every contour warned him. The order came anyway. Pickett's division would lead the attack. Longstreet was ordered to oversee it, the cruelest duty Lee could assign him. Witnesses later recalled he could not speak the command. He only nodded. Just after midday, Confederate artillery thundered. More than 100 guns shook the earth. Smoke rolled across the field. For nearly 2 hours, shells slammed into the Union line, but the bombardment failed. Many shots overshot. Ammunition dwindled. Union guns fell silent, not destroyed, but waiting. Then the infantry stepped forward. Thousands advanced into open ground. Flags waving, lines steady, the sun merciless. Union artillery erupted. Formations were torn apart. Men fell in waves. Some reached the stone wall. Some broke through briefly. But there were too few. The attack collapsed. When it ended, the field was strewn with bodies. Entire regiments were gone. Longstreet stood silently. Later, he would call it the saddest day of his life. Lee took responsibility. "This has all been my fault." The Army of Northern Virginia withdrew intact, but broken beyond repair. Gettysburg became the high-water mark of the Confederacy, and the question remains. What if Lee had listened to Longstreet? History never answers paths not taken, but at Gettysburg, one voice urged restraint. One voice warned of the cost. And when that warning went unheeded, the war turned onto a road with no return. If you're drawn to untold stories, brilliant strategies, and history's most haunting what-ifs, this documentary brings you face to face with the moments that shape the world. Like, subscribe and turn on notifications, because history is never as simple as we were taught.